All right, everybody, we are about to get started again. Thank you for being here. So we're going to continue with the agency roundtables, this time with the Department of Defense. We have Ms. Christina Barnhill, the Associate Director for the Defense SBIR and STTR program. She's going to be talking about the DoD specific process, including commercialization and partnership opportunities. More about Ms. Barnhill. She is the point of contact for Congress, the Small Business Administration, the Government Accountability Office, and Interagency SBIR STTR Community Representative. She oversees and leads the SBIR STTR programs to unify and convey transparency and trust across the various agencies, components that make up the programs. Ms. Barnhill holds a Master of Science in Program Management from the Florida Institute of Technology and has served as a DoD civilian for over 25 years. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Okay, well, welcome and good morning. And guess what? You have to listen to me speak before we can go to lunch. So here we go. Okay, so I am on a detail to the Department of Defense SBIR program. I am still at the Missile Defense Agency, which is one of the components that fall under DoD from the SBIR Department of Defense. And so with that, you kind of get two birds with one stone here today, okay? Not very many people know that the Missile Defense Agency falls under the Department of Defense, but it really does. I've been doing SBIRs and STTRs probably about 15 years across all different agencies. I am a project manager. I do not do the evaluations, but I know what they think. And so with that being said, we're going to go to the next chart here, maybe. Okay, maybe that is the next chart. Okay, it is the next chart. So at the DoD, what we try to do is try to be the central point for all of SBA, GAO, that's the Government Audit Office, Congress. SBIR STTRs are mandated. I'm sure you've heard this all for the last couple of days. It is a mandated program by Congress. We get our funding from extramural funding within the agency. So what we try to do is we try to get research and development fast-paced out to the warfighter through the SBIR STTR program. R&D, research, and as you can tell, we're a little behind the power curve right now within our nation, I should say. So we try to bolster modernization. We have some new pilot acquisition programs that have come out. With the reauthorization last year of September of 2022 when they reauthorized the program. Honorable Shu has been doing an amazing job on getting some other funds to help over the Valley of Death. Here we go. Look at that. So just what Kara said is myself and Matt Williams, he's the acting director right now because the director has retired. And so we are like the main point throughout DoD to the components. So from Congress to us, from SBA to us, down to the components. We're that single point of making it be successful. So we try to have leadership. We try to get that transparency and trust. There's a lot of information all the time. And if you don't understand the SBIR STTR program, it'll probably take a year for the epiphany to happen, for you to realize what really is going on. How do you go from a phase 1 to a phase 2? And then how do you commercialize it? And I will say that that has been a huge topic in the last year is commercialization and how do we track that? And how do you do that? Where are those funds? So with that, well, okay. So innovation, technology, we're trying to stimulate and innovate military readiness and get everything ready to go. Oh, I see questions already. Increase the private sector, stimulate partner ideas through competitive award bases. Within the DoD, they are all competitive and they are all contracts. Most of them, there's a few that do grants, most of them do contracts. So there are deliverables. We do not repeat the topics. We do not, we keep a vigilant eye on fraud, waste, and abuse. So it's make sure that you're only submitting your proposal to the correct agency. And if you're going to use that proposal for another agency, make sure that you get all the correct agency words out of it. Um, just saying. Within DoD, we have the, how you're eligible, and you can find that on the SBA.gov size right here. When you do submit your proposal, just like all the other agencies, you get to self-certify. And then if you are selected and it goes to contracts, then they do a deeper dive. They go and verify all your certifications. We always have a phase 1. Sometimes that's some people go to direct to phase 2. Some of the agencies do, but there's basically, you have a phase 1, and that is competitive. And I will say, from what I understand and from what I see, depending on how many proposals come in, usually there's an algorithm of so much money that they can spend. It's not that they don't want your technology a lot of times. A lot of times there's not the funding is available because they're only allowed so many dollars per topic or per effort. And then from the phase 1s to the phase 2s, they down select. Usually that goes in half, 50%. We follow the SBA policy on the guidelines of what the thresholds are. And I'm sure there'll probably be an update soon. But phase 2 enhancements are non-SBIR dollars, usually matching with SBIR funds, depending on which agency you're working with. And as you've heard, I'm sure, and I hate to say this over and over, sometimes I feel like I'm being the mother now. Read the topics. Tell them your niche, do your research, understand what their mission is, whether it be the Army or the Navy or the Air Force or the Missile Defense Agency or DARPA. They're looking for something. Understand what their agency wants. Don't just tell them what your topic can do, your idea. Yes, it's great. We all love the beautiful babies. We really do. But you have to be able to say, my beautiful baby can do this for you. And that's how you end up getting selected for that first phase 1 or a direct to phase 2. Direct to phase 2s were kind of started out to get a higher technology level, to transition faster. And that has really worked for many agencies, really. But as you can see, the SBIRs, the difference between the SBIRs and STTRs is the SBIRs is a small company. STTRs, usually you have a university or a federally funded lab that must do 30% of the work.
Okay, first question is from Allison. If you have already proven a concept, does it make sense to go directly to phase 2, or do you always have to go through phase 1? Basically, if you have some level of data already, is that helpful for a phase 1 submission? Or is it looked at as a project that has already begun and will be unable to be funded?
So, in the SBIR world, it depends. It really does depend. If you have already started work on something and the topic comes out and your technology would fit that, and you've already spent some R&D funds in it, tell them, this is what I have, and this is how it can help you fit this need. Whether it's past that TRL level of, say, a 2 or 3, it's not just basic funding anymore because you've started. I mean, it's still low. So and some of the agencies do direct to phase 2. You don't get to pick if it's a phase 1 or a direct to phase 2. So if your technology works, and I tell everybody, go to the SBA.gov/SBIR and search for your keywords, your technologies, and see who's working the technologies that you're interested in, which you have. Share. Go out there and look and see who's won before. Sometimes you can even team with other people who are also in that. You can complement each other, not just be competitors, but you can team because you can bring something to the table that maybe somebody else can't. So I would tell her, I would apply.
Have you seen a case where 2 different people have submitted and been rejected, but when they team up, that they have a better chance of actually receiving an award?
I have seen both, to where when they team up, sometimes they do. It's all about how you write the proposal.
Okay.
I mean, it truly is. It's all about how you communicate and having the correct people understanding what you're bringing to the table. I would love to talk with you for a little while. I didn't quite
She is
understand, but I
gesturing.
think I understood what you were saying. And I thought, oh, when innovation is advanced or you're ahead of some, other people may not understand what it is. And sometimes you have to dumb it down a little bit. Even though it's innovative and smart, sometimes you have to remember who your audience is. Okay.
And Christine was gesturing towards the lady who does stenography. So and the next question is, does the DoD have any interest in quantum safe cryptography?
So I did write them down. So we do have some pamphlets. I didn't bring very many, but I do have some more, but I could probably send you the electronic copy that go with that you can put with the slides. So not very many people know this, but the DoD does have a SBIR program within DoD. And so we have 5 offices, but not all of them play. And so I had to write them down so I wouldn't miss one. So we have the Chief Digital Artificial Intelligence Office, we have Mantech, we have Hypersonics, we have Quantum, and we have Basic Research Lab, which we call BRO. So those 5 play in the DoD, but we also have all the other 13 components that also play within the SBIR program. It all kind of rolls up. It's very confusing sometimes if you're trying to understand. I see the gentleman back here nodding like he understands what I'm saying. So good. I'm glad I'm on track. Affirmation is great.
Maybe he's just agreeing with you that it's confusing.
Yeah, it really is. So
next question.
Okay.
Does StrikeWorks have their own SBIR program?
StrikeWorks, is that Air Force? I bet you that's Air Force.
Is it, well, AFWorks is Air Force. I don't know what StrikeWorks is.
They think they fall under Air Force.
Okay.
So they do, but they don't. It falls up underneath the Air Force, that falls up under DoD. So they all it all rolls down. Everybody rolls out SBIR programs because they have funds. And so to use those funds that are in your department or your lane, sometimes it's easier to have you a little program versus playing in the big pot of money with everybody else.
Okay, well, let's
like an
delve into
umbrella.
that. You said that each of the 13 agencies has their own pot of
We
money.
have a slide here,
Oh,
just
is
a little.
it here?
Yeah, it's probably in a couple of
Oh, okay.
ones in just a few minutes. So you'll be able to see what all the components are. And like, I have not ever worked for the Navy, but I like the Navy. I like the Navy's process. I like how they go about implementing their SBIR program, their commercialization. I was there when they had Dawnbreaker. I was in the program. I wasn't at Navy when they had Dawnbreaker, and Dawnbreaker really did do a great job at transitioning technology. And I've also participated in the Office of Small Business Programs, in the Mentor Protege programs. I think that is great too. Any way that you can develop your company with whatever capabilities that you might be missing really can help, whether it's writing proposals, if it's getting that extra square footage, or if it's getting on a contract as a subcontractor. All of those things can help with other assistance. And there's what they have, PTAC. Did you have Apex speak? Yeah. So they're there to help. SBA is here to help. And the PMs are very passionate about the program. If you ever have a question or concern, or you're not, something's not going right, you just pick up the phone and call one of them. They're willing to help. Most of them have been in the business or been in the program for years and retire out of them, just because once you start getting in, you just really can never get out.
One thing that's certainly getting a lot of attention here in Nevada, and this came up in both the Black Hat and the DEF CON conferences just a little while ago here. I see a couple people over here nodding there. One of your big programs out of DARPA, the Artificial Intelligence Cyber Challenge. So, this has been something that's gotten a great deal of visibility, great deal of traction. Unfortunately for that SBIR funded track, the door shut on that on the 3rd of this month. So I guess my question is that now we certainly have the ability to compete in the open track here, but is there any way to potentially jump back in?
So with that, so DoD has open BAAs and commercial solutions open all the time. The different offices do, and the different agencies also participate in the solicitations at different times. there is a steady solicitation openings 3 times a year. Usually it's once a quarter, but really everybody's kind of gone to the open solicitation. So where they're submitting them all the time now, really, it's like a massive snowball all the time. Because you have 30 days. Once those solicitations open up, you have 30 days during the pre-solicitation to talk to the topic authors. You have their phone numbers, you have their emails. And if they don't respond within that 30 days before the solicitation opens up, all you do is contact the PM or contact the help desk. We keep communications open between all of us quite a bit. So usually somebody can always answer the questions. So let's go on to the next one. Do you want me to? Here we go. I got it. There we go. Okay, so here, voila. So we develop the topic, the broad agency announcement comes out, the proposal, the evaluation, the contract award, and then the reporting. And these are all the different agencies that fall up underneath DoD. And so I still work here from time to time, depending on what's going on. And I have been with the Missile Defense Agency for over 13 years. So, I mean, I know their program. I know it well. I've been at DoD since June. I'm learning it, all the new people and the different processes and everything that goes from there. But all of these you can find on SBA.gov and find their solicitations, what's open, and who you can talk to. And if you have problems, there's always a help button. So.
Do they all get the same amount?
Of funds? No.
Okay, who gets the most?
Well, it's all based on their programs, because that's where the 3% comes in and the 2.4% comes in, because it's on their extramural R&D funds. So the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force are usually the top 3. DARPA and MDA fight back and forth. I used to be able to say that MDA was the 4th largest in the 4th estate, but DARPA beat us last year. So I take my hat off from time to time. Sometimes I am the DoD. Sometimes I still say, MDA. I don't mean that in any bad way at all. It's just I understand both of the programs, and so I always tell everybody it's like a 2 for 1, because I do understand the program, and that's why you end up moving around from different agencies and sometimes learning that.
Okay, but you also mentioned that there were these 5 little subgroups.
So that's within DoD. Those are within DoD. So DoD would have
all of those.
So yeah, those subgroups fall in there. And then all of these, like I know MDA they follow the modernization, the critical modernizations that Honorable Shoes put out. I think there's 11 of them. There was 14, now there's 11. So she's got critical modernization technologies that she's got listed out there, and they try to follow those.
It's very confusing.
It is very confusing, but that's why I say go to SBA.gov and put in your keywords and search to see who has what out there, because all the solicitations are listed there, and everybody submits their proposal on the DoD SBIR Innovation Portal, DSIB. Everybody in. So
there is another question, comment. Is this you, Darius? Okay. Oh. All right. So Darius here. He says that DoD agencies have a reputation for wanting to know what applicants can do for them specifically, but at the same time, they don't release information about their operations, obviously. So he's received feedback that he needs to present the technology in terms of their specific statistics, but he has reached out to find out what they are, and they won't tell him. So that's an interesting conundrum. And so what he really wants to know is how often solar systems are successfully or unsuccessfully maintained, and how often batteries in different apps go bad.
That's a good question. I mean, I don't know, but if they want you to be more specific, they should. Your technical person, whoever your TPOC is, or your technical point of contact that you work with. Hopefully, do you have who's on the government side? Have they assigned?
I just emailed.
So when the topic is open, you probably need to get a hold of the topic author to find out what information you can get if they want that. And that's where that niche comes in is, and I know they want you to, provide specifics, but if they don't provide you specifics, how can you answer that question? So then that's where you place that phone call to that PM on that program, the SBIR program. I mean, they're usually listed somewhere on the website, or you reach out to Eric, who is the acting director of SBA, or you reach out to Matt Williams, who is the acting director at DOD, and find out, who you should be talking to, because they shouldn't tell you certain things and then not abide by that. Does that make sense? I mean, you're a small business. It's not like you're, one of the large companies that probably knows that. So, okay. Any other questions?
Not in chat.
Okay, good. All right, let's go on to the next chart. Okay, so yes, these are the 3 quarters that are open, that most of the agencies participate. A lot of them have gone to anytime now. Now they can submit a topic anytime that they have a gap or technology that they're looking for. So the DoD actually puts out instructions, and then each agency puts out instructions. So make sure that you understand what your agency is asking for. The DoD tries to make sure that they cover all the requirements. And we'll get into that here a little bit farther. So yes, so we update all those instructions every single time a new solicitation comes out. Yes, especially during the pre-solicitation, reach out to the topic author. During the solicitation time, you have to submit it to the help desk, and then that goes and is put up on Citus, and your questions out there, and the answer will also be out there to be shared with everybody else. Okay, and then so I don't know if you knew this, but this is a fun fact. So the 23 is the year that the topics came out in. The numbers are for SBIRs and the letters are for sitters. So whenever you see that, if you happen to see a letter, you'll know that that's for a sitter, whether it has a SBIR or sitter written in front of it. Sometimes that's a fun fact that I learned years ago, and I thought, well, why didn't somebody tell me that sooner? So yeah, exactly. You just figure everybody knows that, but they don't.
So during the pre-release, this is when you're suggesting that candidates should write to the topic author.
Yes, you can call them or email them.
So my question would be, if they're getting questions, are they recording the answers in an FAQ that other people can read so they don't have to fill more
During
questions?
the pre-solicitations, they don't have to share that. So
Isn't that when it would be most helpful?
Well, during the solicitation period, that's why it goes out on Citus. Just because some people have different questions, and it's helpful to the small business that is asking the question.
And possibly others.
Correct.
But you wouldn't know because you're not sharing it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, you are correct. So, the annual has annual SBIR BAA has replaced the out of cycle BAAs. So we still do these, but there's also other solicitations going on 24/7. Literally, it is so confusing. Yeah, it's very like I said, all the components are submitting when they are ready for a new trying to fill a gap or a technology area that they're missing. Okay. Did I talk really fast or what? No, not too bad. I was like, wow, I'm on the summary. Yeah, DoD tries to combine and centralize. A few years ago, we tried to all get together with all the PMs. We all meet, we all know each other. We try to do best practices amongst the agencies. We tried to consolidate our language, our verbiage, so that we were all kind of trying to speak the same language, so it wasn't so confusing for the small businesses. But everybody still has their own little technologies. OUSD R&E, we do about $2 billion in annual funding, and that includes all the components. It's quite fun. It's a lot of funding that goes on there. Now, I don't usually call it the seed fund because SBA calls it the seed fund. So SBA has other programs also that they have, like they have FAST and other programs to where different states can compete in. And but we have our OSD Transition Cyber Sitter Technology Program also within DoD, and they do phase 2 enhancements, and they do matching funds if you have outside program funds, and if it looks like it's going to be transitioning relatively quickly, they will pick it up and they will give you an award because it's a phase 3. So it's a follow-on contract from your phase 2, and they usually get it on contract and they get it out the door, and usually it transitions very fast. This is a very good program. I didn't realize how well and smooth it ran until I was up there, because they are able to use some of the administration funds. So it sounds like they're using Cyber Sitter dollars, but they're not, but they are, if it makes sense, because of the admin fees. That's the trick there. But it helps with the transitioning and getting them over the valley of death. And I will say Matt Williams is the director of this program, and he's doing very well. But guess what? Also, he came from the Navy, so I'm just saying. Not that I'm promoting any agency, but they do have some good practices, and they know how to implement them, and I think that is great. So with that, we have many firms. Some are brand new to the program. Some are veterans, and some of them I've seen some of them go from mom and pop sewing on a kitchen table to being deployed, which is amazing. But it also was funded by multiple agencies. Just because yours fits in the Army or the Navy or the Air Force, it could fit in the Missile Defense Agency. It could fit into any of those other components. And so we end up funding them for different parts of the effort to mature it. So with that being said, well, I'll look at here. So here's DCIP. This is our portal that we came up with a few years ago. And all the proposals go through there, every single one of them. And we're in the process of trying to make it maybe a little more user-friendly. But I hear snickers. So, yeah. So, we're working that because it is new. I tell everybody, okay, well, we're having a meeting next week, so we'll bring that up. Okay. So I tell everybody it's new, and anytime you do anything new on a database, website, internet, it doesn't work as well as you think it's going to work, as well as you would like it to work. I mean, if we get lucky, we get it right the first time, but that doesn't always happen. So, but the company that is working this was a cyber company. So, and here we are with that. Any questions? Oh,
Here comes to the questions.
How are you expecting people to get to a .mil address?
.mil.
DoD Cyber .mil. You can't get to that unless you're on CyberNet.
No, you can, yeah, no, you can get to that, but not if you don't have a CAT card. But they have a username and password also. Yeah, you should be able to get there to that.
Cool.
I was gonna say, before I leave, type it in, we'll find out. Okay? Because yeah, you should be able to, because that's how you're gonna submit your proposals. Now, the SBA.gov cyber is where you can go and search and see topics also. Okay?
So it seems to me, here's just a comment, that in this particular instance, AI would really help you. Like, I have seen that your application includes these words, and would you like to apply to these other agencies that are looking for that same keyword?
Mhm.
You're working on it?
Yes. Yes, and did I mention in the DoD, Department of Defense, we now have a Chief Digital Artificial Intelligence Office. So, that's good though. So each agency has technical or topic authors. I'll use MDA, just because we have what they call research area leads, and they are within the programs. And they are the ones who come back and say, this is the topic that we would like to submit for our program. Okay, and then so within DoD, we have those 5 offices, and they submit topics to us for them. And so it's usually a PM, it's usually a technical person, it's a chief engineer. By law, we're not allowed to take topics from outside the government, because then that would be influencing or playing favoritism or however that works. So, and then you get in trouble. And I don't like orange. So I try to abide by the rules that are put down, and that is one of them. And Congress did come back last year and say, are businesses providing topics to the government? And that answer should be no at all times. And I tell people there are usually 2 sides of every government. There's a service side where you can be a CETA contractor and make the requirements, or you can be on the other side and provide the product. You can't be in both sides. You have to choose, or otherwise there is a conflict of interest. And then that's what causes issues, because you can't make the requirements and apply for them also. So, yeah. So on the SBIR.gov or so then what you can do, and I'll promote MDA right now. Put my Missile Defense Agency hat on. Out there, they have BAAs that are open 24/7, and it just requires a white paper and so, a broad agency announcement. Okay, so they update it every 2 years, and there's probably about 10 or 12 topics that they keep out there all the time, and you can submit a white paper, and then it is reviewed by a subject matter expert. But if they don't have funds, they don't have no funds. But if they do have funds and they find it interesting, usually they try to find the right person to evaluate it, and then try to find funds if they think that it has value. I don't believe they have that at DoD, but the Navy or the Air Force, I know, they all have something going on. There's lots of different ways of submitting your technology. And this year, if you notice, all the agencies were required to submit an open topic this year. This year, Congress mandated before the end of the fiscal year that every agency submit an open topic. The Air Force has been doing it for a while. Navy hopped on board a couple years ago. DARPA does it from time to time. They have open topics. The smaller components don't have the manpower really to evaluate those because they're small. You can't get 1,000 proposals in and expect to have them reviewed in 2 weeks and still meet, the deadline that is set by SBA policy, that you must, at the end of the solicitation date to the receival of the select or non-select letters, 90 days. Well, there's approval processes in there also too that you have to go through besides just evaluations. You've got to do other things. And that brings me to a few more things. This is additional information. We had a study done, I think, in 2019, and we're getting ready to do another study in December. We're starting another study on the the economic impact study through, I want to say, National Academy of Science, I think, is doing it this year. They did not do it. TechLink and DoD partnerships, Montana University of Bozeman, and the University of Colorado did the 2019 one. So there will be another study being conducted starting probably sometime in December to find out what is the impact of the SBIR program on our nation, our small businesses, our industry.
And when will that be released?
That'll probably take at least a year, because they'll have to gather all the information, do some analysis and stuff like that. It's kind of really not fair. I mean, it is, but it's not. Just think, we just came out of COVID, literally a year and a half ago, barely. So for 2 years, we were all kind of stuck at home. Nothing's being delivered. Now we're short on supplies, materials, business. I mean, it really has impacted the small businesses a lot, in more ways than one. Not just, you know, it's planning and projecting for the years out. Some companies did real well at doing that, others did not. It's hard. It's hard when you are mandated to stay home in your little box, and communicating and finding out information has always been difficult, especially about the program. But what I was going to try to get to is the reauthorization updates. The foreign risk management, the report, we have now out on the DSIP site, when you go to submit a proposal, that you must fill out a form. It's on foreign ownership, control, and influence, because you know, other countries are taking our technology. Because why? Once a small business is reported that they received an award, it's publicized. Well, we publicize it because it's public knowledge, right? So everybody gets to look at it. And so with that being said, then all of a sudden you start receiving phone calls from venture capitalists who would like to fund your company. And then next thing you know, even though they look like they're in the United States, they are not. They are in foreign countries, and with that comes obligations to share technology because you're receiving funds, etc. So we have had to implement a what we call FOCI. That's the Foreign Ownership, Control, and Influence form that we now do an additional security review on to, and if there's red flags, then it sometimes goes to counterintelligence, and then from there I don't know what happens. But I'm just saying it's protecting. It's really trying to protect the small businesses. It sometimes doesn't feel that way, I know, because it's just more requirements. But in the long run, it really is to help keep our technology in the United States as much as possible. And you know, I mean, there's hackers out there that are really good, and you know, that's where the internet's everywhere. We all hop on it every day, all day long. Most of the time we're on the internet, and so you know, that comes into play also. Some agencies have, like Blue Cyber has a list of places where you can go and get educated on internet protection. MDA still has the CAT team. It's a cyber assistance team. They can come out and evaluate your system for free. Anybody, anywhere, they will do it for free. They'll tell you what's wrong, but it's up to you to fix it. Now, if you get a contract with the Missile Defense Agency, they want you to fix it because those are your vulnerabilities. But knowing your vulnerabilities, at least you can try to fix those. I think that's half the battle. A lot of times, small businesses just don't know that they've been hacked, or somebody's reading all their emails and all their papers and everything, you know, their passwords, their bank accounts, etc. And it happens, and it's sad. So, but so these are all of the when they extended the SBIR program, because like you've heard, it's 40 years old. They reauthorized it, and this all fell on us. the PMs mostly. And so we tried to keep it from the small businesses. So we are working all of this, but that foreign risk management was probably the biggest hurdle that we've had to come over. And it'll still take time and adjustment on that also. And so there's just a little bit more. We did tiger teams. We opened all of these, and I've been participating on most of those. We've briefed, it's been implemented, it's good. But so when you go out on DSIP, you will see Project Spectrum. This is, it's a little training thing. I've done it. You can enter into it, go through it, and it kind of teaches you, gives you little tests and stuff like that. It gives you a little certificate at the end saying that you've done it. It's just to help make everybody more aware of what is going on. So with that, we encourage people to go out and take it and get that certificate, just so that you're aware of what's going on. And then these are all the websites that are very, very helpful. And I believe we have we have all of them. I don't know. I'm sure you realize once you get a phase 1 and you're going to a phase 2, you need to have a DCMA audit on your accounting system. It's just to have an approved accounting system. It doesn't have to be high-tech, technical. It just has to be an approved accounting system. Something that where you can show that I've received money in and this is what I've spent my money going out. Basic accounting.
So it's not an audit on your expenses. It's
No,
just an audit
no.
on the system that it's compliant.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. And so, but this is a struggle because it does take a long time sometimes to get that completed. Sometimes it takes 30 days. Sometimes it takes 6 months. Yeah. So that can cause a delay in award. But here are some very, very helpful websites. Oh, see, look, they did put the Apex. So I had to send a message to find out for sure what the name had gone to. And then here we all are.
Right, I have a question for you.
Sure.
I'm familiar with AFWorks because they have an office here, and they're part of the Air Force.
Correct.
Are there similar programs in the Navy or the Army? Why are you smiling at me?
AFWorks has changed their program.
Okay. So does it not exist anymore?
No, it's still there. They have they have some new PMs. They were told to evaluate their program and to change it just a little. And so they have some new PMs there. There was a lot of funds that, that went into the pitch day and stuff like that. Well, when COVID hit, guess what? The pitch days came to an end. And so they had to reevaluate how they were doing business and start over. Some people still do a kind of pitch day. It's a little bit more work up front. Now they do a little bit more work up front, not just AFWorks, but I've heard a couple other agencies say that they still do kind of a pitch day, but they down select before they even have the pitch day. So they already know what technologies are coming in and who to have there. So yeah, there's a few other ones that still kind of do something similar to that.
So what I heard you say was the AFWorks program is in transition.
Correct.
Okay, so nothing's happening. Okay, thanks.
Yes, and that's where the select but not funded letters are not really good because the Air Force evaluated them, or AFWorks evaluated them. Only the AFWorks can give them an award. Oh. Because somebody at another agency would need to receive a proposal and to evaluate it and decide if that was good for their agency, their mission. And then they would provide either select or non-select letter. Okay.
I don't see much in chat.
The gentleman behind you.
What's the relationship to REI systems?
So REI is the small business that does our DSIP.
They won the contract.
They were a cyber company, yes, that had developed this for NASA.
Interesting. Thank you. So
we jumped off of what NASA had and modified it. So between the Air Force and the Navy and the Army, they are very large agencies, and they have multiple programs and departments that participate, and they all have different missions. Like within the Navy, they have the ships, they've got the jets. You know, so I mean, water, land. You know, so I mean, and it's you can see that some of the technology is the same, some of it is not, and they have different issues. So and it's the same with AFWorks. The Air Force, you know, they have different programs and different technology gaps within their departments also. We are a non-classified program. You cannot submit a classified proposal unless you are requested to, and then they will give you a secure place to submit that, and that would not be on a phase one. No. Now, SBIR has data rights and IP rights and stuff like that. That is yours. That is yours from the 20 years from the date of the first contract. The government only has government purpose rights. They cannot share that information with other companies. It's only within the government. Yeah, there's security classification guides, and if you ever have any questions about that, you can always call one of the PMs. They can get you a security classification guide. It will be on the high side. You would have to have a high side email to be able to access all of that. Okay.
If you're operating in certain technologies or certain spaces, I would think and assume that you would already be in those spaces and you would already be aware that what you're doing is sensitive. Is that a good assumption on my part?
That is a good assumption.
And just for the added fact, I've worked for what it's worth, I've worked in some of those spaces. I'll stop there.
Yeah. Yes.
I have a question. Apologize if I had to drop out for a little bit, so I apologize if this is duplicate. So there are a couple of requirements for contracts, and I'm wondering how far back to the early part of the cycle, like if we come in for grants, what are the expectations that those certifications are met, and when are they met? So the two of them are CMMC, the Cybersecurity Maturity Model certification, and the IPv6 USG v6 certification for any equipment that is IP enabled, that transits the internet. So if I'm thinking about developing something and getting grant funds for that, does that become a barrier? Do either one of those certifications become a barrier for grant submission, or does it not come into play until there's an actual pursuit of a contract?
It would probably come more into play when it comes in for a contract, but if you had that beforehand, but I don't think that the CMMI is, right now I think you self-certify of where you're at on the website, but that is 2025, I think, when all of that is supposed to be complete. So the CMMI is FY25. So, but you just go in and you self-certify. And I did say that there is a CAT team, the cyber assistance team, that can come out and evaluate your system and kind of let you know. So nobody should have to pay an extreme amount of money to have their system evaluated and then told this is what's wrong with it. You should only have to pay to have it fixed. I know that there's a lot of people out there selling that technology, that this is going to tell you what's wrong or this is going to help you. So just be aware that there's Blue Cyber. Kelly has got a bunch of information out there. I don't think it would hinder you from getting a contract, but there would, and that is some of the issue with small businesses and knowing the certifications that you would need at certain points. Hopefully, they would tell you in the solicitation how far you needed to be before you submitted a proposal. I don't think it would be so much on a grant, but I don't know that for sure. I've not worked that much.
Well, yes. So CMMC is actually different from CMMI. So CMMC has been around for years now, and they're getting much more strict about adherence to it. And that involves getting a system security plan in place as well. Okay. So I know level 1, you can obviously self-assess, but most people don't have that skill set or the time to do it. So I'm just going to tell you, after you said not to worry about it, those are my two key services for my company. So, and the IPv6 thing, if I'm developing IP-enabled gear and I don't support IPv6, then that's going to be a huge barrier to pursuing contracts, because that is being required now. They will deny a contract if your equipment in any way transits the internet.
Yes, and that's where we go back to the foreign ownership, control, and influence, and the cyber attacks that a lot of the small businesses get. It is important to have your system. I mean, I would say definitely take the time to do that, to make sure that your network, that you have the certifications, even if you need to team with, and this is where the mentor protege program came in, where when I worked, it was that the mentor does get the funds to help the protege, but some of those agencies will allow some of that money to help certify for those certifications that you need. So if you can find a company that would mentor you in getting those certifications because they have it, you can apply to the mentor protege program, and there's multiple ones out there in all the different agencies and at SBA and DOD. There's that program is out there also.
So if I wanted to be a mentor, because those are services I already provide, so I would be on the mentor side of that equation. So is that something I could apply for?
Well, if you're a mentor, would you not have the certifications? I'm just curious. I'm just asking. I mean,
Well,
if you're wanting to get the certifications, you would be a protege, and the mentor would have the funds to mentor you to help you get those certifications. But if those are services that you provide, then I don't
mentor get the funds.
yeah.
well, you have to apply.
I wouldn't get. Yeah. Okay. So I'll just talk to Maggie or Cara after this.
And if not, I'll leave my number too, just in case.
Yeah, I don't need IPv6 certification because I provide services. I don't build and design gear that transits the internet. So that generates IP.
So you're helping other small businesses.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Emery, for the questions.
Thank
and
you
for everybody else. And just thank you so much, Tina, for being here. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you for having